And there we go. How's everybody's weekend? Happy Sunday. I can hear myself. You got your headset up. Hope everybody had a good weekend. 713 day. Right. 47 flip. 9/11. 7 and 4 is 11, right?
Yes.
Plus 2025 is 9.
9/11.
That's 9/11, girl.
And boy, what a day it's been, huh? Craziness.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the last 2 days. Today was even more heated, though.
But we're glad it has to happen this way because a lot of people got, it seems like there's phases to this. And it doesn't really have to be a physical handed over a copy of a binder or anything like that, saying phase 1, Epstein files. But there seems like there's phases to this awakening. And some people got punched in the mouth over the last few days, and it's much needed. It's got a little stale there for a minute. And make things exciting, wake some people up. Sometimes the uncomfortable truth is sometimes the stuff that we avoid the most. And then we got to be brought back down to reality and what we all originally started this. It was for the children, right? And there's, regardless of what side you're on, I think that unites all of humanity, in my opinion. And it's for the most part, people are pretty good. Evil really only exists. The percentage of that is really, really, really low.
That kind of evil, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, mess with kids and stuff. That's the pure evil. But let's just get into the Trump Epstein thing. They're going around saying that he's not on the list. Well, technically that's true because there was not a list. There was a book of his clients and there was flight logs. So there really wasn't a list. There was the list of all his clients and the flight logs, which if you go to the Guffrey versus Maxwell court documents and the depositions in there, during that case, they unsealed those documents. There's some that still are sealed. I don't know if we'll ever see them. But in those documents, Trump was listed as flying on Epstein's plane, the Lolita Express, 7 times in the 1990s. And then in the deposition, he did go to Epstein's estate multiple times. Of course, in the deposition, it says that he never, according to one witness that was actually worked for him at Mar-a-Lago, that also was at the estate, that has said that he had went there multiple times, yes, but only for lunch or dinner, but never stayed overnight. Then another one of the victims, her deposition was that she had never personally seen Trump engage in any acts. So according to the court documents and the depositions, neither does it prove Trump was involved in any of that nefarious stuff, nor does it disprove him. So that's where we are, and there's still no final answer on that. Maybe something's in the still sealed documents. I don't know, but that's why everyone's freaking out, because it doesn't really say, and it doesn't look good right now at all. It just doesn't.
Is this it right here?
Yeah, I had God, I think I sent you the depositions, the names of people. But there's
Sorry guys, dog's working. She's stubborn.
Just go ahead and I sent you a lot of stuff on it.
You want me to go up here, or is it up here? But here it is right here. If you need the court documents.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
the
also,
Governor versus.
I didn't also look at
He
it.
also has I was trying to find that tape where he was being questioned. He pled the fifth on every question. So nothing comes out of that. When you plead the fifth, you don't have any answers. So again, we're left to just wonder, right? It's long. I tried to download it, and it's long. It's long. But I posted all the information on the chat. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection records is what it's under. Jeffrey Epstein records, and then the case with Guthrie and Maxwell. And you can go through all that if you choose to. It's posted on both chats.
All right.
Let's see. The book was a list of all his contacts that he did business with. That Epstein did business with. Why is it like that?
It's freezing up.
So
I'm trying to pull up something.
Okay. So anyways, that is still left unanswered. And the reason why everyone's freaking out is the way he responded to it. Now they say that they're scared to release it because of what might happen if they do, which has been out there. I don't know why they're saying they're scared to release it. It's already been out there. It's been out. It was released. Some of it was released back in 2016. Some of it was released. The rest was unsealed in 2020. Some more was unsealed in 2021, 2022, and then the rest 2024. So the ones that are still sealed, I don't know what it is. It might be some more names or some more tapes, or all the tapes. I'm not sure, because it has minors in it. So that we may never get unsealed.
Well, they're not protecting minors. They're just in the business of protecting pedophiles, especially billionaire class.
Right.
Fortune 500 companies.
but this list is really long. I had one that had all the list in it, but there's prominent people. Let me see if I can find it. You keep going.
I can do this faster on my phone. I should have had this pulled up, but we were talking about Lolita Express, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that black plane?
Oh, the one that Trump was
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. Can you send me that? That's what I'm looking for right here.
You have it. Yeah.
Hold on one second. Not responding. There we go. Yeah. Here we go. Right. Yeah. That's Teddy Cruz.
Yeah, it says right here. Let's see. Flight logs released as evidence in the 2021 sex trafficking trial. A convicted Epstein companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, show that Trump flew 7 times in the 1990s on Epstein's private jet. In 2022, Epstein was Trump told New York Magazine Epstein was a terrific guy, but then men later fell out. In 2019, after Epstein was charged with sex trafficking with minors, Trump told the reporters, "I was not a fan of his, that I can tell you." The documents released in January stem from Epstein's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, in the lawsuit Guffrey versus Maxwell. So that's when she was, during that trial is when she was sentenced for 20 years.
Here we got Peter Thiel. Epstein calendar contained multiple meetings with Peter Thiel. Keep going.
Okay, this is hold on. Trying to download. It's not cooperating right now. Okay, the complete list of links. Okay, based on, let's see. Okay, documents, contact books. There was unsealed documents, including contact books and related files from Jeffrey Epstein case, Guffrey versus Maxwell, drawing from 2020 unsealed documents in 2025 declassification by AG Pam Bondi. The list below combines unique names from verified sources. Let's see. There's a bunch. It's a long list. Alec Baldwin. These are listed as contacts, and then it says in here what they're. Let's see, like. Let me go down to. Let me see what they have it listed down. Like it has Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But it says reasoning the reasoning on the contact book was dined with Epstein, regretted association. Okay, and then Trump is on the book. It was Robert Kennedy Jr. and his wife also. Donald Trump, let's see, he was mentioned in the 2024 docs and the 2025 contact book. The reasoning was neighbor and social tie, mentioned in depositions, but no wrongdoing was alleged. But that's what he alleged. Trump, Tiffany was mentioned on there as well. 2025 contact book reasoning, daughter. The reason was daughter of Donald Trump, family tie. Marla Maples is on there also. There's a bunch of people, but anyways, I posted that as well on both things. So there's no clear answers. They just put on there, I guess, whatever they wanted to put on there as the reason for flying or.
Yeah. So here's that same aircraft right here. This was August of last year. Why Trump flew on to campaign events on Jeffrey Epstein's plane last weekend. Remember, we talked about this. I said there's a major trolling going on here.
Oh yeah.
Huh?
That's why I was wondering if see this what I was
in my lifetime.
Because I think they use I believe that Epstein is alive and they used Epstein to get all the rest of the people, because Trump in his rallies mentioned Hannibal Lecter, and then Hannibal Lecter in the movie, the FBI used him to get in the mind of other serial killers so they could catch the serial killers. And the FBI have used that technique many times when they use somebody that like what was that movie, Catch Me If You Can?
Yeah.
Where he, committed a bunch of fraud and the FBI used him to catch other people. They do that a lot. So I think they're using him to catch everybody else. And I think they're all going to go down. Maybe some deal was made.
Right. So former President Donald Trump's campaign flew in a blue Gulfstream jet formerly owned by sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, using it to travel to several campaign fundraisers over the weekend. The Miami Herald has confirmed Trump en route on his own private plane to a campaign event in Bozeman, Montana last week unexpectedly landed in Billings because of mechanical problems. The campaign spokeswoman said that he and part of his staff then flew on a small charter to Bozeman for a rally Friday night. The next day, he switched to another larger Gulfstream with a serial number that matches a plane once owned by Epstein, his former neighbor in Palm Beach. The campaign confirmed. The campaign had no awareness that the charter plane had been owned by Mr. Epstein, the spokeswoman said, then adding that the charter was commissioned by a vendor that has often been used by the campaign. We heard about the former owner through the media. Well, that's interesting. So the former owner of the Jeffrey Epstein's plane, which was painted a distinctive shade of blue, is parked in Palm Beach.
Yeah, and that's the only time he flew that to the rally, right? That we know of.
Yeah, for a fact. Well, I mean, according to the reports,
he was always on the Trump.
But why did they do?
Plane,
why did they, of all the planes, did they have to take that one?
Right. And before he used to fly the Trump.
What was wrong with that white one?
His Trump plane. Now he gets off at the regular presidential plane.
Right. So Epstein was arrested on sex trafficking charges in 2019. He trafficked children to nobody, the same nobody that assassinated nobody, the same person that the same group that assassinated JFK, MLK, RFK, 9/11, scamdemic, October 7th attack on Israel. Same shit. It's all the same people. CIA, Mossad. It's all the same. When you hear Epstein, Mossad, Epstein, Israel, Epstein, Netanyahu. That's why you're not getting it. Because Netanyahu's in charge. And especially when you stroke somebody's ego and tell them you're trying to get them a Nobel Peace Prize for being the best president in the world after bombing Iran.
Right.
I mean.
But we know, I don't know what that Trump is, but.
Yeah, I don't know what this is about,
but Trump has ties to a lot of the Israelis, the Jewish community, his father had a lot of ties, and reportedly his father, Fred Trump, was a German Jew.
So Epstein was accused of sexually abusing more than 100 girls. They don't know the exact number because, I mean, I'm sure it's in the thousands. And young women over decades. Epstein was subsequently found dead in his Manhattan jail cell a month later. You know, I don't even think he hit the jail cell, honestly. Still haven't seen a picture of him in the jail cell or outside of it or walking around. Nothing.
No.
But hey, same thing with the Diddy case, right? Give us a cartoon image of Diddy in court, and we just bite it, not even seeing him one time in years. So Trump's use of the plane is likely to add to public scrutiny surrounding his relationship with Epstein, even though no evidence has surfaced that Trump was involved in Epstein's crimes. According to flight data, the plane is now owned by an Ontario, California company, Threshold Aviation Group. So the campaign spokeswoman confirmed that a decal with the words Trump 2024 was placed on Epstein's old plane for the trip. Is that trolling?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's trolling somebody here. You put Trump 2024 on the side of Epstein's plane and flew it to the rally.
Yeah.
And nobody said nothing?
No. Yeah, see, Trump Force One is what he usually flew in, right? You remember all of his other rallies, he always went on Trump Force One. Which had Trump all on the side.
So Trump was in the same social circles as Epstein, and he flew on Epstein's plane 6 times from 1993 to 1997. Keep in mind, after the helicopter crash in 89, he came out at the funeral and he had his little, what's that thing they put on their heads?
I forget what it is. The Jewish people wear on their head.
No, what the hell is that?
I forgot.
A bald spot cover? I think it's a bald spot cover.
Yeah.
But anyways, but the two had a falling out in Palm Beach that they had a bidding war in 2004. There are numerous photographs of Trump and Epstein together, 90s. Okay. Also, not Ghislaine Maxwell. What's her name? Virginia Giuffre.
Yeah.
She met Epstein at Mar-a-Lago, and when she was, I guess, homeless and 13 years old, I guess she was working at Mar-a-Lago. So that's where Epstein met her, and now she's dead, and they're really bold about this, wanting to talk about Epstein after you wait until Virginia Giuffre gets knocked off. And then you put in Palantir in place. Oh, and then you finance ICE and give them billions of dollars for the border, and then you close that down so nobody can escape America.
The original Trump,
6'4" Trump
died in that plane helicopter crash. I'm not sure, because it's kind of weird that Epstein, the case against Giuffre and Maxwell was in 2016, right before Trump was president. And there was also several cases, but one of them was a girl. What was her name? I can't remember her name. That came forward back in 2016, and there's a court document. I posted the court document. It was a young girl that at time was at 13 that allegedly placed Epstein and Trump sexually assaulted her, raped her, and all sorts of stuff. So it's all in the document. But she was going to do a press conference that got canceled under she says she was under pressure and was nervous, so she backed out of it. And the girl was apparently the case was closed, and apparently she was paid. So not sure what happened with that, if that was true or not, but there is an actual case, court document. Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is ready to reveal the truth of the pedophile client list, says insider. So why are we Republicans blocking it? Yeah, because there's a lot of people on that list.
Because the Republicans are owned by, and Democrats are both owned by Netanyahu, AIPAC.
Right.
So when they say, well, if the Democrats had it, they would have released it. No, because they're on it too.
Plus, they're probably scared of what's going to happen. Plus, it's going to crash the economy.
Netanyahu wouldn't allow that. Look at how many Democrats take off. Their second homes are in Israel.
They're afraid it's going to crash the economy. But I say, let's crash the economy. Because, think about it. Then if that happens, and all the blackmail, they don't have no blackmail, then they have no more leverage against anybody. Just get it all out in the open. Because otherwise this would continue. This would keep on continuing. We can't let that happen no more. This is about the children. It started about the children. It's going to end about the children.
So,
it's never going to stop.
Right. There's a lot of people also saying, well, look how successful this economy is. Look how the borders secured and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. What good is all that if we don't morally have a country left and our souls are sold to the devil to cover up pedophilia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Or this is Judgment Day, folks. I don't know if you're feeling like sweeping a bunch of pedophilia under the rug.
Yes. Someone asked about Doge, but Doge just audited. All they did was rearrange the money and sent it to the Pentagon, which the Pentagon is run by Mossad. They infiltrated after 9/11. So there you go. And nobody's been jailed for anything, one of those audits. Not one. Maybe some lower level, but nobody up at the top.
So I guess today was the anniversary date for the a staged assassination for Trump. And people are wanting to focus on that. And people are saying, well, God didn't save him to protect pedophiles. Release the damn list. Or the files. Or how about this? Give us the list of the names of the people you see in the videos raping children.
Yeah, that's the one I think they have sealed. But like I said, some of it was released in 2016, 2017, and then 2021, 2022, and recently the rest. But I don't get it from that administration. But the list, the files and the logs and all that's already all out there. All you have to do is look, and I posted the websites where you can go look. So asking it from them is they're not going to give it out to you. We share it with amongst each other. We have it in this actual documents from the government website and the court documents from the actual courts.
People are losing followers because they're taking a stand. This isn't about a party anymore. It's about the children. So keep that in mind as you're playing party politics with children's lives and women and men. You can't keep talking about the border and then covering up the fact that those children coming across that border or aren't being trapped or used on these farms or used in whatever ways, sexually or organs or whatever the sick shit that they got going on.
Stand for the people. You stand for the children.
Put aside
not parties.
Not the parties.
Not who's in the party.
Your party doesn't give a shit about you.
So that's the line. It's being split right now. So you have to choose which way do you want to go.
So
we already know what the corporation is, right?
I think Trump's really, when he says no one cares about the Epstein files, he's pointing out the fact that most people are only focused on other shit. And if this was all about the children, then why aren't we raising hell over it? Why is it?
A lot of people are.
We are now.
Some of them are saying, I'm standing with MAGA. I'm standing with this. No, you're supposed to stand for what's right.
Good versus evil, right? But
you want the truth at all costs, right?
Unless it hurts your feelings or
the children deserve that.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's for our future children too.
they're going to say, Grandma, what did you do during that time? They're going to ask you.
That's right.
But right here it says Trump saying no one cares about the Epstein files is the equivalent of saying people don't really care and high-profile pedophilia politicians, celebrities continue to rape and ritually sacrifice children. I'm pretty damn positive that the vast majority of MAGA cares about getting justice for the victims of Epstein and company. Heinous crimes against children, and in fact voted for exactly that. And that's what Patriot Voice voted for. He voted for justice.
That's what they're all saying. Most of them are all saying they voted for justice, right?
She's losing followers, but that's okay. Keep doing your thing. You'd rather lose cutting the wheat from the chaff right now.
A lot of people lost a lot of followers.
We got John Rich. I picked a lot of comments from a lot of people on this topic, positive and negative. Would releasing the Epstein files upend the stock market when the CEOs are hauled away? Would releasing the files empty out seats in the House and Senate? Do I care? Absolutely not. Do you support televised mass arrest of these predators like I do? I think we've been saying that for a few years now. So somebody made a really good comment earlier. It was about, where's it at? Because they were talking about the stock market. If this list comes out, we're going to lose the whole of everything's going to just plummet. Is that what y'all want? We don't give a shit. Oh, here it is. This is Dr. Joseph Ford Cotto. If the DOJ releasing all the names associated with Jeffrey Epstein would screw over global markets, would you still want it to happen? Honest question, guys. No bullshit. And again, same thing with Trump when he was talking about the economy. Is this we should be focused on the economy and the border and everything's funded and but I know the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime and no tax on Social Security was just temporary, and I gave the corporations permanent tax breaks that never expire. So we talk about those things, and that's coming from a forked tongue, speaking out the two-face. Yes. So this is how the forked tongue speaks. Would you still want the truth if it hurt the world? It's framed as an honest question, but it's a trap because it already presumes something wicked, that truth is negotiable, that justice is optional, that the global markets, the tools of the powerful, are more sacred than the souls of the abused. This is how serpents reason, posing poison as nuance. But the real question is this: what kind of world are we living in where exposing child traffickers would crash civilization? What kind of world are we living in where exposing child traffickers would crash civilization? If the release of Epstein's full list would unravel global systems, then those systems are built on rot and they must fall. That's not a reason to fear. It's a reason to rise. It's a reason to cleanse the altar and not to protect the wicked priest. They want you to think that silence protects order, but silence is what let the order rot from within. They want you to think that moving on is maturity, but moving on without justice is spiritual suicide.
Yes.
They want you to fear the collapse, but the real collapse is already happening. The collapse of truth, decency, and the American soul. So when they ask, would you still want the truth if it costs you everything? Our answer must be yes, without hesitation. Because the cost of not wanting the truth, of letting demons rule and letting victims rot in silence, is fear, is far, far worse. Worse than a market crashes. Worse than political fallout. Worse than any temporary storm. This is not just about Epstein. This is about whether America still believes in its soul. Do we still believe in justice for the weak? Do we still believe that no man is above accountability? Do we still believe in God who sees what's done in secret and calls his people to righteousness? Or have we bowed completely before mammon, before hell, before the accuser himself. You don't move on from child sacrifice. You burn the altar down. You repent. You rise. You rebuild, holy and clean, and let the idols fall, and let the market shake. Let the liars weep, because truth is coming, and it will not negotiate. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Okay, I found some of the depositions. Okay, first of all, Roberts, now in her 30s, which was Virginia Roberts Guthrie, now says the first encountered Epstein and Prince Andrew, Duke of York, through Maxwell. She met with Maxwell at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago Country Club and residence in Florida, where at age 15, she worked at Mar-a-Lago as a changing room assistant in the club's spa. Her father also worked there as a maintenance manager. Okay, according to the deposition, the information included prominent people, some of which included New York lawyer Alan Dershowitz, Donald Trump, liquor baron Edgar Bronfman, and former U.S. President William Jefferson Clinton. Roberts claims she was forced to have sex with Dershowitz 6 times, but denies seeing Clinton having sex with anyone. Although he was present at Epstein's mansion, as well as having flown on the Epstein's personal jet. A former employee of Epstein's Palm Beach estate claimed in a sworn deposition that Epstein and Trump had a much closer relationship than what was told. Former employee of the Epstein Palm Beach estate claimed in a sworn deposition that Epstein and Trump had a much closer relationship than what Trump has admitted to. Juan Alessi claimed that Trump had been for dinner at the Epstein estate at least once, while Epstein's brother Mark stated that he flew with both Jeffrey and Trump on Epstein's private plane, but what some call Lolita Express, the Epstein flight manifest. They were friends, Mark Epstein went on to say about Jeffrey and Donald Trump's relationship.
This is General Mike Flynn. Wrote Donald Trump, please understand that the Epstein affair is not going away. The administration doesn't address the massive number of unanswered questions about Epstein, especially the abuse of children by elites. It is very clear that abuse occurred. Then moving forward on so many other monumental challenges our nation is facing becomes much harder. In other words, we can't celebrate and all this other shit if we don't get justice for these kids. How the hell can we have? How can we heal as a nation if we don't get any justice? And if we don't get any justice, you ain't gonna get any peace. You know what that means? Trust was deeply violated. They want to blame other presidents. I don't agree. It's been going on for decades. This isn't nothing new. So here's your people that are telling you don't worry about it. President Trump's had enough of the Epstein kooks. I wonder why he's saying that. I wonder who he's connected to. Who y'all think he's connected to? I don't know, man. She got Lady G right here. He's trying to start World War III. None of these people want the files to come out. This dude over here, either Fetterman. Is that DeSantis touching Epstein's face?
Oh, yeah. Did you want to play that one?
Hold on. Just remind me. Here,
oh, this one, where he talks about the Mossad took over.
Yeah, I got it. So Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of Florida of 2011-2019. She let Epstein slide then. So keep in mind, Trump is the boss. She works for him. So blaming Pam Bondi for some shit that he told her not to do, you're missing the mark. It doesn't matter who the DOJ is. It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
right? We got the stuff that didn't age well. We got a lot of. I got to start down here and then work my way down. I got to start up here. Yeah, I'll get to that here. Epstein's intelligence network. Okay. I'm gonna open that. Let me get to a couple of comments that didn't age well. Did you over there? Just type. Okay, I think it's down.
There's the one. You didn't kiss the wall.
Yeah. All right, let me get to this. I got a lot of stuff here. Let me. Listen. Here, let me get that ready. It's kind of not loading right now. So the reason the FBI wouldn't let the Epstein client list come out in court is because if they did, their blackmail would no longer be useful. And the CIA would lose their control over all the powerful people they spent decades setting up. So
Yeah.
Netanyahu ain't trying to come off that shit. He's got everybody by the balls, men and women. Some of the women had balls.
It did come out in court.
Like what you said earlier, the blackmail would no longer be useful.
Yeah.
They could no longer control the politicians, so it'd probably be in their best interest for it to just come out.
Most people don't know about it already being out there, so the masses would not have a clue. They were waiting for it to come from the White House, right? Because there was very little coverage on any of that. They know about Epstein, but really.
That's from the flood. Hold on.
This is the list right there from the court documents. That's what the log there.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah. See, what I wanted to show is this one person was a chief, Michael Ritter, responsible for the investigation of sexual abuse against children by Epstein, was on the list or the documents.
Yeah. So the guy doing the investigation is on the list. Or whatever.
On the documents.
Robert Guthrie.
Yeah. And then right here, that's where you see Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Bill
Trump's
Clinton,
right here,
Donald
businessman right here. John Conley, David
businessman
Copperfield.
and former U.S. president. This was the one that got released in 2024. There were some of the
Al Gore.
names. Yeah, Al Gore.
Bruce Willis. Naomi Campbell.
Tom Pritchard.
James Michael. Whoever the hell that is.
Kevin Spacey, we knew that. George Lucas. Bruce Willis. Cameron Diaz. Also on that one, go back. I think that one has. They have Michael Jackson on there.
Yeah, I seen it on this one right here. Somewhere up here, right here.
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
All right. Man, why did I go that far up? Let me go down here. All right, so Here I got a couple more things I want to put out. Tucker says he warns that ignoring the Epstein client list could ignite a revolution unlike anything America has ever experienced. He asked how many can claim thousands of children were raped while refusing to reveal who was responsible for it. Tucker calls it the most insane story he's ever covered in his entire career. I don't want a revolution, but if you wanted a revolution, this is how you would act. Tucker's under fire because he did an interview with Iran, and it's really pissing off the MIGA group, MIGA group, Make Israel Great Again group.
You say that? I agree. They said that. By the way, when Pam Bondi went on television, but how can you say that thousands of children were raped, but I'm not going to find out who raped them? Yeah. How can you say that? I agree. They said that. By the way, when Pam Bondi went on television and said, I have a videotape of kids getting abused, I followed this case closely, and I know a lot of the people involved, as I told you. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. I didn't know that. Really? Thousands of children got raped? Who raped them? Where are the rapists? Like, why aren't they in jail? What? This is the Department of Justice. Yes. That is so crazy. This is honestly one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just think it's very dangerous to play around with this stuff. Like, very dangerous. Well, I don't want a revolution, but if you wanted a revolution, this is how you would act. Yes, yeah. But how can you say that thousands of children were raped, but I'm not going to find out who raped them?
Yeah. That's where everyone has a problem.
We got to protect the people on the list. Damn it. They got businesses and stuff that'll crash. Do you want them to lose? And we got an economy we're winning.
And you know he already knows.
Oh, yeah.
He was CIA.
How can you say that? I agree. They said that. By the way, when...
I was just trying to get this closed. Oh. Exit full screen.
Freeze. There you go.
And Pam Bondi went on television and said, I have a videotape.
Hold on, I'm trying to close this out. For some reason, it's not. Well, that sucks. Here. I had to go find a secret button I hid. So that's the revolution. But the revolution is not going to be televised. We got Joe Biggs. We're talking about morals, right? And people doing it for the economy and doing it for this and doing it for that and standing with this person to that. Joe Biggs says that everyone tells me that you have to be nice to Trump or he won't pardon you. Remember this Joe Biggs, J6er, right? My morals don't bend for anyone. I will gladly blow my chance at a pardon if it means sticking up for children who have been raped and trafficked. If my pardon means covering up for unspeakable evil committed against children, I'd rather just take my chances. Do what I want. Do I want my Army retirement? Yes. Do I need my VA benefits? Yes. But it's not worth my soul. I'd rather suffer on earth than spend an eternity in hell covering for pure evil. No one said being a Christian would be easy. I stand for good, even if it means I lose everything.
There you go.
Oh, and to the left, if you're bashing MAGA and you didn't say nothing about Biden being a pedophile, then you need to STFU and sit the hell down. So the left trying to bash MAGA over the Epstein situation, sit down and shut the up, because Biden is a known pedophile who opened our border for children to be trafficked. But I don't think it wasn't really Biden. It was somebody else behind it because he's gone, but he's still a pedophile. But let's get into a little bit of what we just.
But yeah, the left don't really even talk about Biden. How his country
No, they stayed silent. But because Trump was so bad that they had to vote for a pedophile.
Right.
A known sniffing on
Everyone had to
kids.
vote for Trump because they thought Kamala was so bad when we should have all just said, screw you. We know. We ain't doing nothing. We don't need to go.
I was actually shocked that CBS reported this. It's an article from 2020, and it's called How Jewish American Pedophiles Hide from Justice in Israel. I wonder if they got pushback from that, because you can just imagine how people would, accuse CBS of being anti-Semitic for this, etc., given that they do this over like things that have nothing to do with Jews and are just about Zionism.
What channel is this from? Sorry. Oh, it's at the top corner. Katie Help, Halper on YouTube.
Sure. It talks about how Israel's acted as a safe haven for Jewish pedophiles and rapists around the world. And obviously, just to be clear, non-Jews are also rapists and pedophiles, in case there are any anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists out there. It acts as a safe haven for Jewish pedophiles and rapists around the world, from the U.S. to Australia. You mentioned above Brett Ratner, and you report on how he, after being accused of rape and sexual misconduct by 10 women, fled to Israel for protection from prosecution, where you report he may be plotting a comeback to America under Trump. So what are the connections that you've found between Epstein and Israel? And do you feel that why has Israel acted, if you agree, why has Israel acted as a safe harbor for these serial rapists and abusers?
Well, so in the case of people like Ratner and people like Epstein, they're accused of major sex crimes, but they also have major connections to, organized crime and or intelligence, right? So I think, in their cases, part of it is motivated by, those other connections behind the scenes. Because if you consider, the early history of Israel, for example, some of these organized crime linked oligarchs we've discussed, the Bronfman family, for example, instrumental in arming the Haganah, the precursor to the IDF, for example. A lot of these, mob figures collaborated with Mossad, including Lansky himself. In the 60s and 70s, Lansky and his illicit empire, intimately connected to not just early financial sources and resources for organized crime, like Tibor Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was also a major funder of Mossad, right? Of early Mossad. And so a lot of these same figures, over time. I mean, I would really argue it's a transnational thing, but they have a lot of ties to Israeli intelligence and also to U.S. intelligence. You have figures like that I talk about in my book, for example, like Bruce Rappaport, who's sort of like this international banker based in Switzerland, but he also had a lot of ties to, Israeli intelligence activity, organized crime, was best friends with Bill Casey when he was CIA director, and of course before, and that's how you sort of end up finding more often than not that in a lot of the CIA's most controversial activities, they're collaborating with, Israeli intelligence, and arguably that's because, they have connections that go even beyond those agencies, because a lot of times when people talk about intelligence-related crimes or covert operations, people forget that intelligence agencies aren't necessarily the power there. They work for somebody else. So oftentimes, and as I note in my book, for example, in the case of the CIA, the CIA and its precursor, the OSS, were dominated by Wall Street bankers, and those bankers teamed up with organized crime. It was a mutually beneficial relationship, and the CIA ended up taking over a lot of rackets from the mob, like drug trafficking, because, the mob then, by teaming up with the CIA, gets state protection. A lot of, people that were used in assassination efforts backed by the CIA hired mobsters from the U.S. to do that, and there's a lot of cross-pollination between them, and you arguably, follow it long enough, you can't really tell where one ends and one begins. But, most of the CIA's regime change coups were done on behalf of U.S. multinational corporations, and because of, oligarch moneyed interests in the U.S., and it makes sense when you consider that most of them originally, were Wall Street bankers or from, elite families and had interests in these multinational corporations and all of that. So, it's important, and this is, something I tried to show in my book, is that there's structures behind these intelligence agencies. And when you look at those, a lot of these operations and activities over the years kind of start to make a lot more sense. So I think in the case of Israel too, you have a lot of those elements being there, but they existed before Israel was a state. Israel was created in 1948. The mob in the U.S. teamed up with U.S. intelligence before 1948, and a lot of those mobsters, particularly that were part of the Jewish mob, Bugsy Siegel, Lansky, etc., were involved in moving weapons to these paramilitary groups that were later folded into the IDF, including the Haganah. And some of them were big backers also of Menachem Begin and what proto-Likud, I guess. Which is actually interesting because, Lansky developed, basically the reason he was so successful, at least early on, was because he teamed up with aspects of the Italian mafia. So before that, organized crime in the U.S. were sort of in these ethnic silos, Italian, Jewish, Irish, blah, 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 etc. And so Lansky...
Before they got intersectional? Yeah,
so Lansky and his associate... Charles Lucky Luciano teamed up and sort of broke that silo and became, they basically dominated, right? But basically, they were able to be very successful in doing that, and were able to sort of build this transnational empire together. Luciano was deported to Italy around the time that this, their group teamed up with U.S. intelligence, and then was a point man for stuff going on with the CIA in Europe, Operation Gladio, things like that, where basically these false flag attacks were blamed on leftist groups for the purpose of keeping as many European countries as possible governed by right-leaning governments, and to sort of demonize among the public, more left-leaning political movements, sort of consistent with things that went on in South America, but in a different way, where you have the CIA backing dictatorships extensively throughout the region during that same period of time. So yeah, the Luciano interests were very affiliated with Mussolini and ethno-fascism. And actually, Likud's antecedents, Menachem Begin and his mentor Zev Jabotinsky, developed revisionist Zionism and was explicitly inspired by Mussolini and said we should apply this to Zionism. And so, a lot of these figures that kind of come downstream of this network, these, Wexner and Bronfman and all of that, are very supportive of that ethno-fascist model. And that's a big, openly admitted reason for the reason they, teamed up in 1991 and created this group, was to direct their philanthropy to promote that kind of ideology and prevent intermarriage, for example, in their particular communities, and sort of, further that kind of idea. But generally speaking, organized crime is very supportive of ethno-fascism, and fascism in general. And arguably the CIA historically has been as well. So, I think it's important, again, to look at the layer, behind either, these Israel as a government, or the U.S. as a government, or the CIA or Mossad or Israeli intelligence, and realize that there's, been more uniting these different factions and groups that kind of goes on in these other realms. And as far as, since you asked about Epstein and the Israeli state, and I kind of got off on a tangent there. He's really alleged to have been working more closely with Israeli military intelligence, not necessarily Mossad. And this comes from people that, were in Israeli military intelligence that worked with him. Of course, his affiliation with the Maxwell family, who are known to have been Israeli intelligence assets, and not just Robert Maxwell, but also, some of his children. Obviously, Ghislaine is, of course, suspected of that, but her sister, who is a big Silicon Valley figure in both the U.S. and Israel, very close to, former heads of Mossad, Shimon Peres, former prime ministers, a lot of powerful connections, allegedly inherited her father's contacts in that orbit, developed very close ties to Bill Gates in the 1990s, who later, of course, becomes a big Epstein associate, and a lot of other interesting wrinkles there, I guess you could say. And then, of course, there's the case of, Epstein when he was evading charges. He went to Israel to attempt to evade charges, which is actually, I would call it the Lansky model. It's something Mayor Lansky tried to do, not necessarily for sex charges. In Lansky's case, it was tax evasion, but he didn't want to be prosecuted, so he immigrated to Israel until he was basically assured he wouldn't get in trouble, and then comes back and the charges kind of, disappear. And so with Epstein, he, went abroad and didn't come back until his sweetheart deal had been hammered out by people like Alan Dershowitz. But at the time he was, waiting abroad, he was, according to local reports in like Palm Beach, the Palm Beach Post, for example, Epstein was touring military bases in Israel. So that's kind of interesting. If you're just a regular guy charged with a crime in another country and you're going to go visit another country and tour their military bases, doesn't really make a lot of sense unless there was some other, notable connection there. And it's worth pointing to that, Leslie Wexner in particular, through his foundations, has had a lot of ties to Israeli government officials. He has, the Wexner Foundation has whole fellowships dedicated to training people that go into Israeli public service. And also, he has been in negotiations on and off, not recently, but I think back in the 90s and 80s about, setting up ventures in the occupied Golan Heights, for example, in, direct connection with Israel's government and things like that. So there are a lot of interesting overlaps, to say the least. But I don't really necessarily argue that Epstein was exclusively Israeli intelligence. I think he was tied to this network I've been sort of trying to suss out here, that involves, organized crime and intelligence and these oligarch figures, private capital, and was ultimately working on behalf of that group that obviously necessitates ties to all of those elements, right? But ultimately, I think, the network he was working for wasn't exclusive to a particular intelligence agency.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Let's pull this down. Oh, let me turn on my...
Democracy depends on a free
Oh,
press.
my
Please
God.
support our
She's
independent
everywhere.
journalism at
This lady's stalking me.
democracynow.org/give.
Right, she always comes on when we let it go on to something else.
Yeah, that lady's stalking me. There we go. Here we go. We're going to be on for a little bit tonight. I hope that's okay. I got a lot to cover.
I was trying to find the
What we're going to get in before we close, I need to get into some Lady G, because I believe that's what's coming up next in your movie is Lady G in Russia, World War III. Because we got Flimsy Graham going to get World War III always wanted. Lindsey Graham, weapons will flow. Make major Russia announcement tomorrow.
If you trust Trump, you have to also trust him to lie to you when it's in your best interest.
Well, I don't, so we're done.
It's uncomfortable.
The MAGA loyalists are out there, the influencers, are now covering up and making it okay that we've been lied to about Epstein. The first one is, here's Bill O'Reilly, former primetime Fox News host, claims President Trump told him there are lots of names in the Epstein files with no connection to Epstein crimes and would destroy human beings.
Keep in mind, Bill O'Reilly was on stage with Trump when they pushed that bioweapon.
Okay, really? So you wouldn't want to destroy any human beings involved with Jeffrey Epstein? Because human life always comes first when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein.
Virginia Giuffre is dead. They say suicide, but then they also say it's because she overdosed on pills from the trauma.
Yeah.
You don't normally call that suicide. So people have been destroyed. Ass.
So let's listen to what Bill O'Reilly says.
I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be.
So you can't release the Epstein files because you will destroy people. Oh, by the way, now if you'll excuse me, I need to get on my next segment on how Israel has the right to bomb hospitals.
Right. It doesn't add up.
Right? So yeah, this whole thing, we're trying to protect people. That's the new line.
Yeah, this is News Nation, home of the UFO disclosure of the magic egg a guy found.
Yeah.
And with Chris Cuomo, the guy whose producer who wrote those terrible things he said during the pandemic turned out to be a pedophile that went to his closest associate. What a joke. Who watches the news? Who could watch it?
Who could watch this? Unbelievable. So you can't. So Bill O'Reilly's big revelation is that I talked to Trump and you can't release this stuff because innocent people will get caught up. You've got to be. Isn't it amazing how the bid for humanitarianism always rears its head when a tyrant is cornered? Everybody's so he's just trying to be kind. That's what
Charlie Kirk has put together what it might be. I watched the clip of him. Remember, we had the clip of Charlie Kirk going, I don't understand.
Right.
And then I watch a clip. I know what it is, and I watch it, and 15 minutes in, I don't know what the hell it is. So they're all going to go do. Laura Loomer is putting out that interference. Oh, I heard Cash might quit because they're diverting all the attention onto Bondi.
That's it.
That's what she's there for. That's what she's there for.
And here's my favorite Twitter warrior, who I've had many Twitter run-ins with. He's referred to me as
the best.
He's
Did
referred
he
to me as
from black people.
He's referred. Yeah, remember that when he said stay away
White
from black people.
You've got to try to not live near black people. Like you needed that message. Like white people needed to hear him tell them, "Oh yeah, don't white flight."
So, anyways, but I do have warm feelings for this guy because
I like Dilbert. I like
Dilbert a lot, and he's got cancer, and so I feel bad for anybody like that. But you want to hear? So he's gonna tell you that. Watch how he spins it. This is an amazing spin. So he knows that they're all lying about Epstein, meaning Trump, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and Bongino. He knows they're all lying, but it's okay because it's for your own good. You think I'm kidding? Watch this.
If you trust Trump.
First of all, I don't trust a politician. Why are you trusting a politician? Again, we're not supposed to be loyal to a politician. The politician is supposed to be loyal to us.
What?
And I get that Trump called you when he found out that you had cancer, and so you love him. I get that. You have affection for Trump. I get that. But here we go.
If you trust Trump, you have to also trust him to lie to you when it's in your best interest.
Well, I don't, so we're done.
It's uncomfortable.
It's like an abusive relationship.
How many of you know that there's something called the CIA? Have you heard of it? If you know that there's a CIA and you have not been railing to completely eliminate them from our system.
Well, I have been. And everybody I know hates the CIA and wants to get rid of them. Who are these pro-CIA people that he's talking about?
Are you watching TV shows and you think that's real?
Right? Yeah, you want it. Anyway, here we go. So he's saying that the CIA is a good thing, even though they're obviously not, and they've been connected to killing JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King. Every horrible thing this country trauma's experienced has been all the wars, all the lies. Okay, here we go. But he's saying it's a good thing that we have the CIA there to lie to us.
Then you've already bought into the idea that your government can lie to you. So don't act like you're all above it. We're not above it.
So if you don't hate the CIA and want to get rid of them, you already know that the government's going to lie to you, and you are not above it. You should shut up now, because the government, you already somehow made agreement that the government can lie to you. This is all These are called mental gymnastics.
No, he's dead right. If you're that much of a moron that you think with the CIA is good because it's a crazy world,
right?
Which I hear people say, you have. It's just that I'm getting triggered because he's acting like I would have accepted the CIA, which I have not.
No. Okay, so let's go on.
I wake up knowing that my country has a CIA and that their job is to not tell the truth. I mean, it's built into the job. And I don't expect them to tell me the truth, but I do expect them to keep me safe. So, they're not going to be perfect and there'll be some corruption that gets into every system. But if you trust Trump to handle the country's interests first, then you should also trust him to know when to lie to you. And that when that's in your best interest or the best interest of the country as a whole.
How about Operation Warp Speed? Was it in our interest for all those lies to happen? Because he got duped by the Operation Warp Speed and all the Fauci propaganda and all the big pharma. He got duped by it during COVID. So I guess were those lies okay then? And Trump's Operation Warp Speed lie, which he still clings to, by the way.
Yeah, Dottie Sandusky. He's still Dottie's Sandusky's wife to this day thinks he was just helping those boys with freedom.
So this is, and I get why he has to do this mental job. I'm sympathetic because he's got cancer, and Trump called him personally and said, "I'll do anything I can to help you." So
and he's not smug. He's not arrogant. When he said, "You won," the people that said the vax wasn't good, you won. That's the mentality he has. No one won, dickhead.
Everybody lost.
And by the way, a side effect of the vax, I don't know if you've heard, is suddenly getting cancer. I don't know if it's related, obviously. I'm not a doctor. But you see the refusal to break the mental control from a guy who's smart? Oh, you want... It's not game theory. These are people's lives,
yes.
Scott.
So, again, Scott Adams, I'm a big fan of his. I have affection for him. I have sympathy for him. I have all these things. I know he hates my guts. That's okay. That's fine. It doesn't bother me at all.
Well, you can see his flaws and pity him.
Yeah.
But he does like CIA, Jimmy.
But he does like the CIA, and he likes that their job is to lie to us because that keeps us safe. That is such a adult child of an alcoholic thing to do. That is such a trauma-based response to being lied to. Oh, they're doing it to help me.
That's such a good analogy that I use constantly, Jimmy. That adult child of alcoholics, because that's a form of trauma-based mind control, right there. That people, without the government involved, people go through that. It's mind control.
Stockholm syndrome.
So, how about this? How about this type of lie, Scott? Are you okay with this type of lie? This is the U.S. Department of Justice, FBI, under Donald Trump. They said that Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what they said about Jeffrey Epstein: the systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. So the people who did child raping, they're not going to prosecute any of them. None of them.
They looked really hard.
So this
10,000 hours of video.
This is the lie. This is the lie he's saying is okay. That's the lie. He's saying Trump has to tell you, and the CIA has to tell you to keep you safe. To keep you safe, they have to not prosecute pedophiles.
Oh, I feel like a Catholic, Jimmy. I feel like I should still go to church even after the bad thing that happened.
That's right. That's what this is. That's the lie he's saying is okay. That's the lie he's like almost happy and giddy about. Like, oh, that means that Trump is protecting me. Because they're lying blatantly, and everyone knows they're lying. He said that earlier in that video. I didn't show that part, but he said everybody knows they're lying. I know they're lying. Yes, they're lying. But it's good. It's a good lie. It makes me feel safe.
Hey, Jimmy, I'm starting a new podcast called Can You Hear Yourself? And I want to get Scott Adams as my first guest.
So that's a guy who... Yeah, so was it okay when they lied about the Operation Warp Speed? Was it okay that they lied about COVID?
Yep.
Not just a little bit. They lied at everything about COVID was a lie. Everything from where the virus came from
Hey,
They called you a racist. Everything from who funded the creation of the virus, where it was made. Everything from lockdowns being good to masks to this vaccine stopping transmission and contraction, which was the basis for mandating that thing. Those
How
were
about
all
my favorite?
Those were all lies. They didn't mess up. It wasn't they didn't know enough yet.
Yeah.
It was all the way they reported the deaths from COVID. They lied about that. They overstated them. If you got in an car accident and you had COVID, they said you died from COVID, not with it. And if you got vaccinated and you died within a week or two after that, they said you weren't vaccinated. They didn't consider you. So there wasn't. So anyway, those are the lies those are also government lies told to you. Are you okay with
the best twist, Jimmy? That it's not even a lab in China; it's a lab in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Right.
Chapel Hill. I didn't see coming.
Right. According to Jeffrey Sachs.
Well, I believe him, and not the government that told me Epstein was a lone wolf human trafficker.
So anyway, that's when a dumb guy like me sees a super smart guy like that bending himself into a pretzel and doing those kind of mental gymnastics because he emotionally can't handle what's happening. All I do is I really have sympathy for him. I really do. I have sympathy for him.
For a person.
But it's like he's like an emotional handicap. Yes.
It turns out IQ, all their focus on mutating your IQ, everything's not based on IQ. It turns out honesty,
right,
having a little bit of humanity and
but he definitely has a trauma base. I mean, again, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm the dumb guy. I'm a C student. I'm a comedian. But that that whole just as Kathy O'Brien talked about, that COVID was all based on trauma.
Yeah.
And this is like, these are all trauma responses to being lied to on a scale your brain can't comprehend.
He would argue the science with you and not the obvious thing of their liars. So it's like, hey, some guy.
So being lied to on a scale that your brain cannot comprehend.
Yeah, some kind of trauma that you. Yeah.
To being lied to on a scale your brain can't comprehend.
He would argue the science with you and not the obvious thing of their liars. So it's like, hey, some guy got eaten near Jeffrey Dahmer's house. You think it was Dahmer? Well, there's no evidence. I mean, when to eat a human, you would need to cook your oven. He would have everything technical instead of the obvious answer that the local cannibal did it. That's how they think. They're like, oh, a woman has a penis, and well, scientifically, or lives at TikTok and stupid with the yarmulke on her face. You don't want kids to be told about gay sex in kindergarten. Are you an expert?
Yeah.
No, I'm the parent, you dipshit.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing that they do over and over. And that's what higher education and all the education has given us. They all the information is there for you to look at. So what can they do to hide it? They can compartmentalize your brain into these moron boxes. And the people it works best on are high IQ people, by the way.
That's right. And he's got a very high IQ for sure.
And he's all split up. Yep.
And he's all split up. He's very high IQ. Writes a great cartoon. Brought me lots of pleasure and comfort.
Very funny cartoon. Love
Dilbert. And he's even written some other books that I've read parts of that are very insightful about how to run your life and certain things like that. I'm not a blanket guy. Scott Adams is a horrible. I'm just saying that this is kind of. I have sympathy for him when I see him do things like this, put it that way.
The guy got all his boosters. He's got cancer all of a sudden, and he still is not going to because I don't know who sent in the term smugnerant.
Smugnerant was Paul Gilmartin.
Excellent. That's what he is, smugnerant, because the smugness that he's programmed with, he cannot allow himself to go, oh, I'm profoundly wrong on this, and I wish I wasn't. He goes, okay, well, you would.
Yeah.
That's his magnanimousness.
Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in.
So some people are just happy to be lied to for whatever reason, as long as it. But however, if that was Joe Biden and he said he was going to scrape everything and they didn't have any files, everyone's minds would have been lost. Right? If Joe Biden would have did all this.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, where's this lady at? Anybody know?
That's not the same person.
Hey, who is that? Anybody know who that is?
That's not the same person.
That's totally the same person that sits next to Trump. right?
She's tied to Pfizer.
She's got the cross right here, just like Pam Bondi. So what happens is, for people that don't understand why the Epstein thing is so important, is that this is how you get bills passed. This is how a bill becomes a law. We'll release those kitty tapes if you don't vote yes.
Right.
Right.
Black girl.
And we got a lot of politicians that went out there and said they were going to vote against the bill, and as soon as it came down to the floor, they all voted yes.
They showed all the clips of all.
But on
different...
TV, they told their constituents that they were against it.
Right.
It wasn't going to be a good one.
Right.
It's going to take from the poor, and then they go in there and vote yes. All right. Yeah, he doesn't want the Epstein stuff released. He don't want the Epstein stuff released. I don't know what the relation is with these guys, but they're linked somehow. I think this is MIGA. This isn't MAGA. This is MIGA right here. This is MIGA, MIGA. Quote of the day, the Epstein stuff. I don't think most Americans actually care about it at this point.
Right.
So I've never been disappointed in the POTUS until today. All we wanted was justice for the children, but he doesn't understand what this means to billions of victims who were sexually abused. Any political movement that requires you to excuse pedophiles in order to remain true to the movement is not a movement you would want to be a part of. You want to be affiliated with. Jimmy Dore, yeah, nothing to see here. Just an international child sex blackmail operation compromising the most powerful people in our world, in the world, and our government. No biggie, no biggie. But Trump doubles down on wanting people to shut up about the Epstein. Damn it. We've got the economy's doing great. Golden age is here. The eggs prices are down. How much more do you want? And here we got, where's he at? So we got Susie Wiles, she's a former farmer lobbyist to run Trump White House, big pharma. Same thing then we got Lindsey Graham down here. We got Trump endorsing Graham. Happy birthday to Senator Lady G. She is always there when I need her. And I hope everyone in the great state of South Carolina will help him have a great big win in his re-election bid next year. Is South Carolina really going to re-elect this fucker? How long has he been in there? 50,000 years?
I don't think anyone should.
A criminal. All right. The DOJ under Pam Bondi closed investigation to Pfizer for alleged bribery. So here we have Cat Turd and 2023 and here 2022. Still not one pedo from the Jeffrey Epstein client list has been arrested by the worthless, corrupt, rotten FBI. Now, this was his tune whenever he thought Biden was in charge. Here was his tune still. Reminder, the FBI and the DOJ are protecting the monsters who went to Jeffrey Epstein's rape island. If you're rich, powerful, and in the right political party, you can do anything. And the FBI and the DOJ will protect you. 0 arrests, 0 people named, 0 justice. And we're still going through it with the same Trump administration now. Now, here's the tune now. Trump just did a long post in support of Pam Bondi and the investigation. He wants to focus on voter fraud, Act Blue, and the rigged and stolen 2020 selection, and arresting thugs and criminals. Totally changed his whole stance. He wanted to rest, now he don't want to rest. Now we're just going to focus on election fraud and a rigged selection anyway. Right? It's the Electoral College that elects the president. So, I mean, you might want to investigate them. But here we are with the Lady G. Lady G wants World War III. Because why? because all this manufactured drama is leading to one inevitable conclusion. They will burn it all down before we ever have the chance to bring them to justice. So y'all need to prepare accordingly. Prepare accordingly. So if releasing the Epstein list means the government would collapse, then burn the motherfucker to the ground, the Patriot Blonde said. Not sure if anyone paid attention in history classes, but the founding fathers tried to warn us against a government to begin with. So you can't say that the Epstein list is fake and made up by Democrats when you campaigned on releasing that list in 2016. Same thing with the Hillary Clinton arrest, and 2024. And your own AG said the list is on my desk last month, and your own FBI director said we need to release the list. Your own credibility is at stake here, Emerald Robertson said. No arrest for Epstein's files, and the child sex trafficking will continue. Trump never promised the Epstein list. I don't know if anybody noticed that. So we're going down to Lady G. Fixing to start World War III because you need a distraction. It's getting too hot. And then we're going to go into more of Lady G. Lindsey Graham. Drain the Swamp is trending on X. Or somebody's talking about it. Here we go.
Just stay tuned for tomorrow's announcement. The idea of, hey, we're giving them military aid. We now have a minerals agreement with Ukraine that's worth trillions of dollars. So I don't want to get ahead of the president, but stay tuned about seized assets. The Europeans want to limit the interest on the assets to go to Ukraine. Secretary Bessent wants to go further. Stay tuned about a plan to go after the seized assets more aggressively. Stay tuned for a plan where America will begin to sell to our European allies tremendous amount of weapons that can benefit Ukraine. Putin has calculated that we would get tired and Europe would get weary. He made a huge mistake. NATO is bigger and stronger, and we're more committed to ever to make sure he does not take Ukraine by force. So Congress is on the verge of the country. It will give President Trump tools he doesn't have. The defender here is China, India, and Brazil. India buys oil from Russia cheap and that's despicable. I've talked to President Trump. He said last week it's time to move. He's tried to entice Putin to the table, but my goal is to end this war, and the only way you're going to end this war is to get people who prop up Putin, make them choose between the American economy and helping Putin, and you can only have one negotiator, and that's going to be President Trump with maximum flexibility to end this war. China, India, and Brazil, you're about to get hurt big time if you keep helping Putin.
Warmongering, POS, endorsed again by Trump. I'm hoping that South Carolina doesn't fall for that shit again. Because here's who you're voting for.
The difference between a politician and the statesman does what is in the best interest of his country, not what is best for his party or for his personal gain. A politician serves his party and often works to enrich himself without any real moral or vast majority of positions, depending upon one prime example. But despite these issues, what does it say about the people who continue to vote for them? It's all about unfit for office. Then spent the next 4 years golfing with them. He voted to protect detainees, then fought to silence their court cases. And while preaching fiscal conservatism, he raked in millions. Isn't shift to Carol? Why could he be considered corrupt along with many of his colleagues?
Hold on one second, guys.
Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, former history professor,
We're gonna
Army
get to
Marine Corps veteran, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History.
Come on.
Lindsay Olin Graham was born July 9, 1955, in Seneca, South Carolina, to a family of very humble origins. His parents owned a pool hall, bar, and liquor store in central South Carolina, where he grew up. He graduated from D.W. Daniel High School and enrolled in the University of South Carolina in Columbia. He was the first person in his family to have attended college, but while he was a student, both of his parents, Millie and Florence, died some 15 months apart. Graham was left to raise his sister, Darlene Graham, who was 9 years younger, and he eventually became her legal guardian while tackling his demanding studies. Graham earned a BA in 1977 while a member of the U.S. Air Force ROTC, and later earned his JD in 1981 from the University of South Carolina. After graduating, he entered the Air Force, becoming a military lawyer in the Judge Advocate General's office. He served at the Rhein-Main Air Force Base in Germany from 1984 to 1988. After leaving active duty, Graham returned to South Carolina and became an Oconee County Assistant County Attorney from 1988 to 1992, and later City Attorney from 1990 to 1994 in Central. He also joined the South Carolina Air National Guard, serving from 1989 to 1995, and returned to active duty during the Persian Gulf War in 1990 to 91, and still served in the Air Force Reserves, retiring at the rank of colonel after more than 33 years of service in 2015. He also served in Iraq and Afghanistan at various times. In 2014, Graham received a Bronze Star Medal for meritorious service as a senior legal advisor to the Air Force in Iraq and Afghanistan from August 2009 to July 2014, overseeing the detention of military prisoners. Graham worked as a lawyer in private practice until he was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives, serving a single term from 1992 to 1994. He was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, being the first Republican elected from South Carolina's 3rd Congressional District since Reconstruction. Graham served 4 terms in the United States House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003 until he won the U.S. Senate seat vacated by retiring Republican incumbent Strom Thurmond. He was reelected to a 4th term in 2020. Graham supported a strong military and was publicly hawkish on foreign policy, while moderate on domestic issues and opposed to enhanced interrogation, such as waterboarding of terrorist suspects. Despite his public platform, he voted no on $15.2 billion for foreign operations in November 1999. But Graham was never consistent in his positions or his support for fellow Republicans, whom he often opposed on several issues. Many Republicans felt betrayed when he previously voted to confirm both of President Obama's Supreme Court nominees, Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, knowing their liberal leanings. He often flip-flopped, changed his mind, depending upon the political climate, such as when Graham later voted against Merrick Garland along with Mitch McConnell during the election year nomination by Obama. Here are a few examples of his flip-flopping. Despite his public position on being hard on terrorism, Graham voted no on restricting business with entities linked to terrorism in July 2005 because that big business was a big donor to his campaigns. Graham voted to build the border wall in 2007, was publicly anti-illegal immigration, but he voted yes on allowing illegal aliens to participate in Social Security in May 2006 at the expense of American citizens. Graham has always publicly supported the military, the troops, and making the VA better, improving education assistance for veterans, claiming to be their champion. But in April 2008, he voted to cut $221 million in disability and educational benefits that Filipinos had earned serving in the U.S. Army during World War II. In June 2010, Graham told reporters that the science about global warming had changed and that the movement had taken a giant step backward. In a major flip-flop, he also said that he planned to vote against the same climate bill he had originally co-sponsored. This shocked a few fellow Republicans, but the campaign money flowed in. Between 2010 and 2014, the Thornton law firm and its partners engaged in practices to reimburse political contributions, raising suspicions about campaign donation habits not scrutinized by the Federal Elections Commission or Congress. In 2012, Graham, a hawk on Benghazi, said that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton got away with murder after her testimony about the 2012 Benghazi attack. He publicly wanted her held accountable for the tragedy, which occurred on her watch. But for some reason, he changed his mind the following year, stating the House report on the event was full of crap, thus again shocking Republicans, as the evidence of Clinton's wrongdoing was very clear. And please see our video on Benghazi. Again, money flowed in from the Thornton law firm and other sources who contributed to both party candidates, but predominantly Democrats. Also, in June 2012, although Graham signed Grover Norquist's taxpayer protection pledge, he went on the record supporting the closure of tax loopholes without compensating decreases in other tax revenue, saying, "We're so far in debt that if you don't give up some ideological ground, the country sinks." He has currently changed that position again. He also voted against raising the debt limit. Later in 2013, in response to disclosures about the United States National Security Agency's global surveillance program, Graham said he was glad the NSA was collecting phone records on unsuspecting Americans without their consent. Ironically, he had previously voted yes on extending the Patriot Act's roving unrestricted wiretaps in February 2011. But he had previously been a strong supporter of protecting American citizens' privacy, and he had no problem with Verizon turning over records to the government without a warrant to match terrorist phones. He had previously been opposed to government interloping into the privacy of American citizens in violation of the Constitution, but he had voted on requiring FISA court warrants to monitor U.S. to foreign calls in February 2008. And in 2013, Graham voted to cut spending and raise the debt ceiling opposite his position the year before. In March 2015, Graham supported the Saudi Arabian-led intervention in Yemen, saying, "We want to have a relationship with Saudi Arabia. They're a strategic partner. They're a mortal enemy of the Iranians." But he again changed his position, flip-flopping when in June 2019, he was one of 7 Republicans to vote to block President Trump's Saudi arms deal providing weapons to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan, and was one of 5 Republicans to vote against an additional 20 arms sales to anti-Iranian regimes. It was an election year after all. Graham accepted the Supreme Court ruling to allow gay marriage in June 2015, reversing his previous position on the Defense of Marriage Act, stipulating marriage was only between a man and a woman in 2006. This was when Graham voted to raise taxes to pay down the national debt, raise the debt limit, but he did not push reducing federal expenditures to offset the debt. In July 2015, Graham, then running for president, called Donald Trump a jackass for his comments about John McCain. Trump retaliated by calling Graham an idiot and revealing Graham's personal cell phone number at a rally. This would begin a strange love-hate relationship. In December 2015, Graham strongly criticized Donald Trump's proposal to ban Muslims from entering the United States, calling him a race-baiting, xenophobic religious bigot. But later, Graham would change his mind and support a stronger vetting process for persons entering the U.S. from certain Muslim countries. Go figure. On December 21st, 2015, Graham suspended his own presidential campaign due to the lack of support and poor polling, and on January 15th, 2016, he endorsed former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. After it appeared certain that Donald Trump would become the Republican nominee in May 2016, Graham announced that he would not vote for Trump or Hillary Clinton, stating, I think Donald Trump is going to places where very few people have gone, and I'm not going with him. In May 2016, Graham tweeted that nominating Donald Trump would lead to the destruction of the Republican Party, and they would deserve it. In June 2016, Graham criticized Donald Trump's remarks about a judge of Mexican heritage, stating he was playing the race card and that it was very un-American. On November 8, 2016, Graham announced that he had voted for Evan McMullin. Graham also suggested that people should reconsider the future of the Republican Party if Trump continued this line of attack. Throughout the 2016 election cycle and the early days of the Trump administration, Graham served as a bitter foe of Trump, frequently harping on his gripes with Trump's temperament. In 2016, after Justice Antonin Scalia's death, Graham stated that Supreme Court vacancies should never be filled in a presidential election year. He also stated that Republicans were setting a precedent. Now, here's another twist. In 2016, it was reported that Graham was the only Republican recipient of money from the aforesaid Thornton law firm, which was ironically one of the major Democratic donors. The firm had been facing scrutiny for questionable campaign donation habits in violation of federal election laws. A spokesman for Graham said that Graham would return the money he received from the firm's lawyers if the law firm were indicted or convicted on corruption charges, but only then, despite the terrible optics, he wanted the money. In March 2017, Lindsey Graham voted for the Broadband Consumer Privacy Proposal that removed the Federal Communication Commission's internet privacy rules and allowed internet service providers to sell customers' browsing history without their permission. It was said he was personally compensated by those media groups substantially. In November 2017, Graham, who had repeatedly attacked Trump on both a political and personal level, criticized the media's reporting on Donald Trump, stating that the American press was endlessly trying to label Trump as unfit for president using slander and unproven innuendo. But why the change? In January 2018, Lindsey Graham and Chuck Grassley recommended charges against ex-MI6 officer Christopher Steele, the author of the Steele dossier, paid for by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, for allegedly lying to federal authorities during the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, although Graham changed his mind of charging Hillary Clinton and the Democrats in the conspiracy. Again, the money came in. In August 2018, the Washington Post reported that Graham had stated he had never heard Donald Trump make a single racist statement, which is true, which was supported by many others from both parties and even black celebrities who had been longtime friends of Trump. In October 2018, Graham stated that if a Supreme Court opening comes in the last year of President Trump's term and the primary process has started, the Senate will wait until the next election to fill it. On March 14, 2019, Graham blocked a resolution calling for independent counsel Robert Mueller's report to be made public after it passed the House unanimously. This was a strange move because Graham had previously supported Mueller's protection from being dismissed, allowing him to continue his investigation. Now, as far as Lindsey Graham suddenly becoming friends with Trump, think about this. In the Mueller report, Trump was not found liable for any criminal activity, but Graham rejected that information from being released, which would only have hurt Trump in the 2020 election. Had that information been made public, Trump would have looked very good to voters.
On May 14, 2019, Lindsey Graham faced scrutiny for encouraging Donald Trump Jr. to ignore a subpoena from the Senate Intelligence Committee,
which drew criticism from Democrats, including West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. But he pushed for legal action against Democrats who also ignored subpoenas, but not during the Obama administration. In late 2019, Graham then again changed his mind on his previous position on Trump's deals, giving a softer approach towards Saudi Arabia. He praised the Trump administration for sending thousands of additional troops to Saudi Arabia to counter Iran's threat. He also praised Saudi Arabia for opening its airspace to Israeli flights and eased up on the weapons deal. Remember, he was still running for re-election. In November 2019, Graham confused most in his party when he initially blocked a Senate resolution aimed at officially recognizing the Armenian genocide. There were rumors that he had been in contact with Turkish officials and unproven allegations of contribution made to his campaign fund, and please see our video on the Armenian genocide. On May 2020, Graham said the Senate would work to confirm a Supreme Court nominee if a vacancy arose before the November election, differentiating it from the Merrick Garland situation where he had opposed seating a new justice during an election year, again changing his mind. In September 2020, following the death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Lindsey Graham expressed support for the Senate immediately voting on Trump's nominee, reversing his earlier stance yet again. He said that he had had a political marriage with John McCain, but as for his relationship with Trump, he said, "I personally like him. We play golf. He's very nice to me." Graham also said that a good relationship with Trump would help his prospects of re-election to the Senate in 2020 because Trump was popular. Once again, he altered his position and opinion based upon political wins. During the 2020 presidential election recount in Georgia, which was quite controversial, Lindsey Graham privately called Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to discuss vote counting and questioning the possibility of disqualifying mail-in ballots with signature errors and no postmarks. Biden won Georgia by fewer than 12,000 votes after the questionable events followed: the fake waterline break to dismiss staff, all except Democrats, and the thousands of verified ballots brought in after midnight. Raffensperger viewed this as a suggestion to discard legally cast ballots, which Graham denied that Trump was defeated by Joe Biden, and Trump refused to concede, alleging voter fraud, despite the liberal media claiming that there was a lack of evidence to support the claim. And please see our video on the election fraud. Following the projection that Joe Biden won the 2020 United States presidential election within just a few hours of thousands of Dropbox and questionable mail-in ballots being suddenly found, Graham urged Donald Trump not to concede, and he donated $500,000 to Trump's election lawsuits and suggested Republican state legislators invalidate election results due to the possible fraud and appointing presidential electors who would vote for Trump. On January 6, 2021, Graham and other members of Congress met to certify Biden's victory. Their proceeding, however, was temporarily halted when Trump supporters stormed the Capitol, invited by Capitol Police and set up by Democrats. After several hours, when Congress reconvened, Graham was among those who accused President Trump of inciting the attack, thus showing his true colors. Graham, for some reason, suddenly acknowledged that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were lawfully elected. This was a shift from his previous position, where he pointed to verifiable evidence of illegal voting activities and fraudulent processes in several states. Biden was ultimately certified as the winner. The following week, the House of Representatives impeached Trump, charging him with incitement of insurrection. The Senate trial was held after Trump left office, and Graham then changed his mind and voted to acquit the former president. So Trump was not convicted. Also in 2020, Graham, a well-known hawk on abortion restrictions, suddenly became one of 13 Republican senators who declined to sign an amicus brief asking the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, again changing his position. In August 2021, the New York Times reported that Lindsey Graham called Joe Biden after the election to revive their friendship and claimed that his call for a special counsel investigation of Biden's son, Hunter, during the campaign was only to appease Trump supporters. However, a Graham spokesman disputed the Times' account, so both episodes cannot be true. On March 3, 2022, in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Lindsey Graham tweeted suggesting that someone in Russia should assassinate Vladimir Putin, drawing backlash from other American politicians from both parties and shocking Republicans. Previously, Biden had opposed assassinations of foreign leaders. In May 2022, Lindsey Graham again changed his mind, joining Trump and advocating that the Supreme Court should overturn Roe v. Wade as a federal law to ensure that every state will decide if abortion is legal and on what terms. That was the position Trump had all along that Graham had previously attacked vigorously. Also in 2022, Graham became one of 10 Republican senators to support a bipartisan agreement on gun control, which included the controversial and ambiguous red flag provision. The red flag law is a direct violation of the Second Amendment, which Graham hypocritically always claimed he totally supported because it allowed for the confiscation of a citizen's weapons without any criminal procedure. Just an anonymous tip would do, with an unproven accusation that someone was so-called dangerous. In March 2004, Graham had voted no in preventing lawsuits against gun manufacturers. Then he voted to allow such actions, but in 2005 he flipped back and voted to prohibit those lawsuits. On February 13, 2024, Graham voted against Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan appropriations bill due to the inclusion of border control efforts. He later changed his mind again and joined 79 colleagues in passing the appropriations when they were packaged as one bill in April, without anything included to secure the border. But then Lindsey Graham, being Lindsey Graham, changed his mind once again on a couple of other issues. Graham's votes against the defense bill had exasperated colleagues, given that Graham led a charge on the Senate floor in June to delay action on a deal to raise the debt limit and set caps on defense and non-defense spending because it didn't include any money for Ukraine, which, by the way, he previously opposed. He stated, "To the brave men and women in Ukraine standing up against Russian aggression and in defense of their homeland, help is on the way." In May 2024, he reversed himself yet again when asked whether he would accept the results of the presidential election. Graham said he would if there's no massive cheating. Before, he had stated there was no cheating in 2020 after supporting the investigation into cheating. The bill Graham opposed included $60 billion for Ukraine, including $19.85 billion to replenish U.S. military weapons provided from the Pentagon's inventory, and $13.8 billion to enable Ukraine to purchase weapons and munitions from U.S. industries. But then Graham again changed his mind, and he was not alone. Many congressional Republicans and senators supported the Ukraine package. But then there was the release of a questionable report listing politicians of both parties who had received kickbacks from Ukraine through USAID, which was only possible if the Senate passed the spending bill, which Graham had always opposed. Interesting, no? In April 2024, Trump expressed regret for endorsing Graham in his 2020 Senate campaign after Graham had again changed his mind on Roe v. Wade, and he criticized Trump for not supporting a federal abortion ban. Trump had always supported leaving that issue to the states under the 10th Amendment. Graham finally changed his mind yet again and formally agreed. In January 2025, Graham disagreed with several of Donald Trump's initial actions as president, including pardoning the January 6 defendants, removing security details for former officials, stripping former officials of the security clearances, and the manner of firing inspectors general. Graham had stated previously that Trump could be prosecuted for inciting the January 6 protest, but then he stated that Trump was within his right to challenge the election results, which Hillary Clinton also did, and he also opposed the second impeachment of Trump on that issue. But these are simply political issues. Now, let's look at the money. The amount that Big Pharma spent in 2020 alone in local and state elections, as well as the bribing Congress to keep our healthcare system, drug pricing, and policies in place, was $689,466,798. The health insurance industry took home $19 billion in profits. Hospitals took in over $70 billion in profits, and the pharmaceutical industry made similar huge profits with at least $100 million in reported profits. During 2019 and 2020, Graham was a recipient of $367,279 in Big Pharma donations for his reelection, along with at least $4 million more, which came from so-called dark money groups, which can funnel money into political systems without disclosing their donors. He voted yes on negotiating bulk purchases for Medicare prescription drugs in March 2005, which Big Pharma liked. But Graham took money and then voted no on increasing Medicaid rebates for producing less expensive generic drugs in November 2005, which greatly benefited Big Pharma, stopping cheaper generics from being made available, increasing their massive profits as well as their political donations. He had later voted no on requiring negotiated prescription prices for Medicare Part D in April 2007, which kept prices high and again benefited Big Pharma. As of 2025, Lindsey Graham's net worth was about $5 million. Not bad on a public servant salary, even with military retirement, considering that he could not be paid a military retirement salary while sitting in Congress. And he's been there a long time. Graham seemed to have no problem with the fact that these three industries, deeply involved in keeping our healthcare system as broken and dysfunctional as possible, had handed out billions in compensation to their senior executives and board members, not to mention stockholder dividends, with some members of Congress owning shares as stockholders. Graham did not even seriously address the drug pricing conspiracy, as most of the more expensive drugs cost as little as a tenth in other nations when compared to U.S. prices, and everybody in the other developed nations have health coverage. Remember, he still received Big Pharma money. Jewish conservatives heavily contributed to Graham's campaigns. Graham has visited Israel at least a dozen times in recent years and consistently backed pro-Israel policies, making him one of the Jewish state's most loyal friends in Congress. That has led to big donations from wealthy Jewish activists. Last year, developer Larry Mizzle donated $100,000 to West Main Street Values, a so-called super PAC that supports Graham, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. Sam Fox, a businessman and a former ambassador, gave the group $50,000 in 2013, from which Graham benefited. And mega donor Sheldon Adelson has given Graham money over the years, which made the casino magnate a top target for Graham and his moneymakers. Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, massive Democrat, had vowed to use his billions to support candidates who seek bipartisan solutions, meaning rhinos, which apparently includes Graham. Bloomberg, an unabashed liberal, gave $250,000 to West Main Street Values last year, making him the single biggest donor to the super PAC. Other high-level Democrat donors also contributed to Graham's various campaigns. But why? Why would they do that? Well, they make wealthy Democrats throw money at a Republican. The answer is pretty simple. Graham will vote and support whatever position is popular at the time, rather than stick to a strict moral and ethical standard and represent his constituents. For example, defense contractors supported him, individual donors affiliated with Boeing, Honeywell, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon donated a combined $50,000 a few years ago to Fund for America's Future, a so-called leadership PAC Graham uses to fund his political activities. Graham had also formed a super PAC called Security is Strength that had not filed reports on its fundraising activities, but would be a natural outlet for donors who want to support a candidate who favors robust defense spending. Since it's a super PAC, there are no limits on what individual or corporate donors can give. Remember that previously, a few years before, Graham had wanted to place a cap on defense spending, but then he was courted by the lobbyists representing the military-industrial complex, as were many others from both parties, to get those appropriations passed. And he changed his mind. But Graham has been all over the board regarding lobbyists and the money they bring. In July 2001, he voted no on banning soft money donations to national political parties, but in 2002, he voted yes on campaign finance reform, banning soft money contributions. So what does he really believe in? Before that, he voted yes on banning soft money and issue ads in September 1999, but 10 years later, in 2009, he voted yes on allowing some lobbyist gifts to Congress. This confusion is understandable, but where the money came from is the question. Notably, he became a proponent of increased legal immigration, which most on both sides agree with. But he also wanted a pathway to citizenship for illegal alien immigrants, which conflicted with most Republicans, with the illegals getting a free pass at the expense of others doing it the right way. Some called him a political sellout. Graham's changing positions and opinions, bringing him closer to Trump, fueled Democrats to unseat him in 2020. However, although his opponent received record-setting donations, Graham ultimately prevailed in November after Trump's endorsement. Although Graham changed his mind and ultimately dismissed claims that the 2020 election was fraudulent, and he had encouraged Trump to run for president in 2024, this was no doubt a move by Graham to ride the coattails of a popular Republican in the wake of a disastrous Democratic administration.
And Graham will want to run for re-election in 2026.
Let's hope like hell that term limits are imposed by that time and retroactively processed. Lindsey Graham has shown that he will bend his political leanings if they benefit himself, making him a clear example of a politician who is self-serving rather than serving the public, not a statesman. Thank you for watching this episode of Forgotten History. If you liked what you saw,
Not a
please
statesman.
click like, share, and subscribe.
One who
And
does
if you
what's best for his constituents versus the party, right?
Right.
So that-
Since they did a documentary on Most Corrupt series, wouldn't you say maybe he might be already taken care of? So they usually do those kind of documentaries
Right.
right upon death or in their prison or something like that. So
Right.
that's what I mean. My opinion.
Yeah. I think I did all these, huh? Yeah. Huh? Oh, it's kind of freezing. Sorry. Which one?
Tomorrow.
What? Oh, no, I'm not into that. Oh, that's a whole other show, ain't it?
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow.
Let me show that.
Okay.
What is that?
Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Someone sent that
Oh,
to
yeah,
us in
it's
the
right
chat.
there in
and said it was-
550.
That was today.
Go Papa.
Yeah.
It flew out of Los Angeles. I guess they just tracked it. This today? Oh, yeah, here recently, 1937. Yeah. Yeah, it's making its rounds. It looks like it's heading down towards Mexico. It's in Mexico, actually. Yeah. So we got, another connection here with the Epstein, since we're talking about it. Again, it seems to all go back to that. Here I pointed out a while back, a few weeks, about Lutnick, right? He bought the house next to Epstein and their neighbors. This is Trump's right hand handler, Lutnick. And we can see right here, 9 East 71st Street. You got the 9 East. He's at 11 East. You got the 911. The 71st Street, 88. There's 911, 88. So this is in New York. Everybody knows who this is, right? The guy that always stands next to Trump.
Yes.
Or behind him. Kind of like the Joe Biden character.
Right.
It's their handler. Israeli handler, right? Keep that ass in line. But I mean, I don't know, man. I guess they had some food together, maybe ate dinner. Those are pastries, I think. They had some pastries. Maybe borrowed some sugar. Man, that looks good. What is that? Oh, kosher salt. Oh.
Isn't that like $5 million?
Yeah, let me 9/11.
9/11, wow.
Yeah. 9/11 on 7/11. And what's even funnier is they did this on 7/11, which is really the real 9/11 because September really is a 7.
Right.
They're friends and neighbors. Hey, they can film an episode of Friends here. Season, whatever season. They could. Oh, look at that.
Owl statue.
Who are you? Who? Some really nice handrails. Oh, another owl. We got cameras right here. Right there. Man, he looks a little mad, don't he?
Yeah. Creepy.
So that's the outside.
That looks like a Greek goddess.
Yeah. Outside, and here we are. I don't know, man, why people are still talking about that Epstein guy. I don't know what that's all about. It's crazy. Y'all are kooks. That's all we got. We're gonna do this Owen Shorter.
Name a president that didn't go and kiss the Wailing Wall. I have no idea who did or did not kiss the Wailing Wall. JFK. Only one. Okay. We all know what happened to him. Yeah, absolutely. Name a president that didn't go and kiss the Wailing Wall. I have no idea who did or did not kiss the Wailing Wall. JFK. Only one. Okay. We all know what happened to him.
All right, here we go. This was a really good interview. You should go check it out.
Yeah, that was a good one. It was a good kind of debate.
Yeah, it was a good debate. He was a Zionist preacher with this.
He was going over some
Name
facts.
a president that didn't go and kiss the Wailing Wall. I I have no idea who did or did not kiss the whale. JFK.
JFK, only one.
Know what happened to him? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Name a president that didn't go and kiss the Wailing Wall. I have no idea who did or did not kiss the Wailing Wall. JFK. Only one. Okay.
That's it. I think this is. Let me go up here and see what else I got. Just bear with me.
These two.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but put those two.
All right, here we go. This is comedian Jim Brewer. Let me get the volume.
When I say broke my heart, it was true. Names are true. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's some names on there that when I say broke my heart, it breaks my heart. They're huge actors. Huge musicians. Huge. And the thing is, it's out there. The list is out there. I've seen it multiple times. And like I said, it started 2 years ago. It's up to you to go look for it. And so many of you are not ready. If it was true, which is a little weird that the whole, it's a human trafficking trial. It's not so. Let's talk about abortion. Let's talk about gun laws. Let's talk about Ukraine. No. Let's talk about that. Why aren't we talking about that? I'll tell you why. It has the potential to collapse governments, music industry, film and TV industry. Do you realize the magnitude? We're talking like, okay, here's Hollywood, here's government, including ours, and here's all of Hollywood and all the biggest musicians you grew up going, I love them, and all of a sudden just gone. Because if I find a name, which I have to say, there are certain names, and I don't know if they're true. Nobody knows they're true until they officially come out and go, yeah, it's true. It's on the internet, some guy reading the names, reading them. He read them. But here's what's interesting. Nobody that has been put out there has claimed, hey man, this stuff is all BS. Stop including me. I haven't seen it.
And they haven't sued anybody yet either.
Right. No defamation.
Nobody's been sued for defamation.
No, nothing. That's what's you really wonder, right?
Yeah.
They went because
if my only
names are true.
You should be saying that's.
And I'm going to tell you right now.
That you're not.
There's some names on there.
Sorry. Go ahead.
That's what I would think.
Say that again.
If your name was on there, but you legitimately weren't involved in nothing like that, wouldn't you be saying, I went and no, I didn't do any of that. Try to prove yourself, but.
Well, I know some people that hung out with Diddy, but they didn't do nothing. They have YouTube channels,
right?
And they even cleared their names. They said, "Hey, I was at the parties, but I didn't see none of that shit they're talking about."
They left before the dark party, right?
Yeah,
because they said if you leave before.
So at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
That's the witching hours, man.
3 o'clock is when the
demons come out.
would do dark stuff. So most of them would leave before 3. But yeah, just because they doesn't mean they actually did anything. So maybe we'll know. Maybe we'll never know. I don't know. But like he said, the list is out there. It's been out there. Well, we keep calling it a list, but because it kind of is. But
Files.
Files.
But you got Biden's
names.
laptop. You got Wiener's laptop. You got deleted emails.
But
you
I'm
got
sure it has to.
Clinton's laptop.
At some point, it has
you
to
got
come
Pelosi's
out.
laptop.
But I'm sure they've been hopefully taken care of.
Let me play this so we get out of here. My dog needs to go use the restroom.
No, I just let her out.
Oh, you just let her out? Okay, there we go.
Nobody's coming to fix our shit, bro. Nobody's coming. We just elected Donald Trump. A lot of you guys wanted Trump to win. Is everything fucking fixed? No, because nobody can fix it. And that's the biggest lie that we're told. We're told that other people can fix our problems. That's why they lie to you. That's why they censor you. That's why they make it feel like your voice is not important. If your voice wasn't important, why the fuck are they spending so much time and energy trying to quiet it? Your voice is all that matters. Your standard is all that matters. And so when you get to thinking that I don't matter, and it's just poor little me, and I'm insignificant, you have to realize that that is exactly what they want you to think. They want you to be helpless. They want you to be dependent. They want you to be weak. And it is a duty for all of us to be everything that they are terrified of us becoming. Nobody's coming to fix our shit.
We're going to fix it. Right?
That's right.
Let me just download it. I should have downloaded it while I played it. Here we go. Hold on 1 second. Crazy, will you? She's being very vocal tonight. She wants my attention. She wants some attention. Let's see if I can get this loaded here. We're gonna put it up. Oh, you just want me to play it right there?
Oh, no. Oh, that one. Okay. I bet you that one.
Well, here, let me play it, and we'll close out. This is called "Don't Mess with My Children."
Glenda. And again, we have the donations for $25. If you want a USB of 30 songs, reach out to Glenda. And we also, if you have any donations on the .com or on Rumble for Truth Seekers, so we can keep going. And we talked to Mike today. He's doing a lot better. He still needs a lot of rest, so we just keep him in our prayers, and we love you, Mike.
That's it. Oh, I'm gonna play this song, right? I'm trying to get it. Somebody's freezing up. What he wants to do here.
Don't mess with my children. Don't do what they shall not. Exposed every lie. Don't cross that line. Held peace in I don't beg, I don't crawl. You come from my bloodline, you better stay. constant. Been through enough to spot fake respect. You wanna test grit? I'm what comes next. Stop with the power games, the politics, the spin. I see the setup and I won't let it win. No badge, no office, no paper degree gives you the right to come for what belongs to me. This isn't drama, this isn't pride. This is the truth behind every mother's eyes. You poke at peace, you rattle the calm. Now you meet the roar, now you meet the storm. Don't ask my children, don't get what they shine. I've exposed every lie, don't cross that line. Held peace in one hand, rage in the other. Now I move loud, I'm the fierce mother. Loud, I'm every fierce mother.
Big Mama's coming.
All right. Don't mess with our children.
And that's all we got for tonight. 2:22. 2 hours, 22 minutes in. We thank you for the prayers. Keep praying for yourself, each other, and if you can include Mike in those prayers and his family, we greatly appreciate it. And also pray for our country, right?
Yes, definitely. We love y'all.
Stay positive. You got probably more distractions coming on the way. Just turn the TV off. That's all you got to do, or turn the channel. You control the remote. You don't have to watch that shit. It's just going to be on TV anyway. Steal your energy and distract you from what. But they can't put us back to sleep. You got the left and the right both awake. And everybody's fighting for the kids right now at this point. There is no division when it comes to the children. But knocking each other down ain't gonna help either. So if you didn't say nothing, if you're a leftist and you didn't say nothing about Joe Biden, then I'd probably shut up, because we're all in the same ship at the end of the day, just trying to get to the truth.
Everyone's going through a lot of emotions, so let's not do that to each other.
But that's all we got. You guys have a good night. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Good night.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.